This meeting of the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission is being conducted by video conference and teleconference. 5 of the 7 commissioners are attending remotely by video conference and currently connected. 2 of the 7 commissioners are not attending and are trying to join the meeting as we are currently speaking. Time is now 10 a.m. The meeting will be monitored to ensure each commissioner is audible to each member of the public. If any audio connection is lost or interrupted, the meeting will be stopped until the connection is restored. If the audio connection is not restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be deemed adjourned at the time the connection was lost and shall be reconvened at 1:30 p.m. today. If audio connection cannot be restored at that time, the meeting shall be reconvened tomorrow, March 11th, 2021 at 10 a.m. If the audio connection is not restored at this time within 30 minutes, there will be another attempt to reconvene the meeting at 1:30 p.m. on March 11th, 2021. This pattern will repeat until an audio connection is restored. This meeting shall be electronically recorded. Documents and materials reviewed by or relied upon by the commissioners during this meeting are available on our website at www.oac.ok.gov and may be found in the upper right-hand side of the home page of that website. The notice has been filed and the agenda has been posted in compliance with the Open Meeting Act. The meeting is being conducted in compliance with Senate Bill 1031, which amended the Open Meeting Act to allow for meetings by teleconference and video conference. Mr. Chairman, we are ready to begin.
All right, I hereby call this meeting to order. Andrea, would you please call a roll for those who are present as commissioners?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and commissioners. First Congressional District Commissioner Kevin Potter.
Here.
Second Congressional District Commissioner David Conway.
Here.
Third Congressional District Commissioner Charles Ortega.
Here.
Fourth Congressional District Commissioner Lindy Ritz.
Here.
Fifth Congressional District Commissioner Blake Rainey.
Here.
At-large Commissioner Chairman Jim Putnam.
Present.
At-large Commissioner Jerry Hunter.
Present.
Thank you. We have all commissioners present.
Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
All right. Andrea, will you call the roll for approval, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Potter.
Abstain.
Commissioner Conway. Commissioner Ortega.
Approve.
Commissioner Ritz.
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey.
Aye.
Chairman Putnam.
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
I'll return to Commissioner Conway. All right.
All right. We have enough to approve the minutes of the previous meeting then. Next on the agenda is the director's report. Mr. Artis, would you grace us with your knowledge, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, commissioners. Welcome on this beautiful March day in Oklahoma. It's been a pretty busy couple of months since we last presented to you in January. Even with COVID, the brutally cold temperature that we experienced in Oklahoma, the staff and the agency was still getting out and about and meeting our constituents and seeing and visiting with aviation aerospace professionals across the state. Had several presentations that occurred during this time frame. First one up on the agenda is Trends in Employment Opportunities in Aerospace, hosted by Career Tech. I myself, Chase Beasley from American Airlines, Ryan Gortzen from AAR, and Wade Wolf from Tinker Air Force Base, the Oklahoma City Air Logistics Complex. We all attended a good presentation. It was probably about 150, maybe 200 people strong, to discuss all the different employment trends that aviation aerospace is experiencing here in Oklahoma, and as well as across the country. It's a pretty bright future for anybody that wants to join aviation aerospace. We all know that the commercial and transportation sector was doing was hurting and experiencing some layoffs. But as we will I think quickly see that will rebound here in the next couple of years, and we'll be right back to experiencing a pilot shortage like we were experiencing pre-COVID. Also had an opportunity to speak to the TBIP monthly meeting with my fellow compadre at Department of Commerce, Mr. Jeff Camp, who heads up the ACES team, as well as Mr. Jeff Seymour with the Oklahoma City Chamber. This is the first time the three of us had gotten together and spoken in the same arena on the same panel. It was a pretty good discussion with TBIP, kind of discussing the different roles of each institution and each organization and how we can help improve aviation aerospace for the Oklahoma City area, specifically for Tinker Air Force Base and the defense contractors that are so vital to the economic ecosystem here in central Oklahoma. And then followed that up with a presentation to the Oklahoma Airport Operators Association called Key Local Contacts. OAOA is standing back up their OCAP program, which is the Oklahoma Certified Airport Professionals Program. As part of that, they're running a series of webinars, trying to do at least one a month on various airport-related topics. And I kind of introduced to them the various local contacts that airports should be taking advantage of, whether that's your state senator, state representative, economic development officials, county officials, so on and so forth. A lot of times airports don't realize how important they are and the breadth of experience and people that they can connect to. During this time period, we also had several visits. Myself and several members of the ACES team went on a trip to Northeast Oklahoma to visit the Sand Springs city officials to discuss their airport and all things that are happening up there at the William R. Pogue Municipal Airport and some of the companies they're trying to recruit into town. On that same visit, we visited with Carter Aerospace and Skytook, Oklahoma. They do machining and compete on small government contracts, and they're a pretty small company, not 100 employees or 200 employees, but in the double-digit employee range. But very interesting work that they're doing, and it kind of goes to show you there's lots of these different small companies out there that are competing on DoD or prime contracts for various aviation aerospace initiatives, and they go to support go a long way to support aviation aerospace in our small communities across Oklahoma. And then we finished our visit up with AAIC. That's Aviation, Avionics, and Instruments Corporation. They are moving their operation to Oklahoma from the Northeast. Also moving in with Mingo Aerospace, which I know is a company that some of you all have heard of in Owasso, Oklahoma. Great announcement a couple of weeks ago of that company moving here, and just another example of a company relocating to Oklahoma, trying to get out of a more metropolis and a larger, more populous state and coming to Oklahoma and experiencing our aviation aerospace industry and the great things that we have to offer in Oklahoma. Later that same week, we visited the Covington Aircraft in Okmulgee. We also visited with some school officials and some career tech officials. Covington Aircraft, they are the only Pratt & Whitney certified engine repair facility here in the state. They are Pratt & Whitney's, it's the gold star for agricultural spraying aircraft, and that's the name of their game. They also have a very interesting radial engine repair shop. They do a lot of radial engine repairs and rebuilds, and it's a great story. If you ever have the opportunity, I would definitely encourage you to go visit the Okmulgee Airport and visit with Covington. Be more than happy to set that up. Great things happening out there. Great story on how the company came about, but is another one of those not so well-known companies to the general public, but very, very, very well-known in aviation circles across the country and even across the world. So visited that and had some good discussions with the educational officials there on how they can go about setting up their own local job pipeline to get kids and younger adults interested in joining the aviation aerospace careers, particularly to support Covington Aircraft and other aviation aerospace companies in the community. The last visit we conducted was the Chickasha Airport. Visited with the mayor and the airport board chairman and several other local officials just to discuss things that were going on at the airport, directions that they needed to take moving forward, and how they can go about taking advantage of some of the expansion of the Oklahoma City metro area. We see from time and time again Guthrie Edmond, El Reno, Shawnee, Seminole, Norman, Westheimer, Goldsby. They all experienced the positive trends of growth of the metro area. And I think Chickasha is another airport not being too far from downtown Oklahoma City that can take advantage of that growth. And as the metro area expands, they will see their activity uptick and increase. We and FAA partnered together to host several webinars throughout the last couple of months. This was mostly to visit with our consultants and those that do business with us on a regular basis. And then we hosted a webinar specifically for airports. Both webinars, the focus was how do we go through the FAA and OAC grant programs? How do we make that more efficient for you all? Are there problems? Are there logistical issues? Are there inefficiencies on how we administer those grant programs? And it's really just good to get in a room and visit with those folks that deal on a day-to-day basis with our grant funding and with airports. And sometimes it takes that sitting across the room, albeit virtually, to really figure out, okay, we're all on the same team trying to raise airports and bring up aviation aerospace. We all do it sometimes a little differently. And so how can we go about making it more efficient, making it better for our constituencies, and really making it more efficient for those that work and deal with our grant process on a day-to-day basis. Had our NASAO legislative conference at the end of February, virtually, of course, this year. It was a good conference, had a lot of good speakers, heard about things that were happening up in DC on the Capitol Hill. Obviously, a lot of the discussion was taken up by the coronavirus relief discussions and things ongoing with the new administration. There are some bright spots, and you heard the tinglings and the whispers of what the next FAA reauth bill may be. Although the current FAA reauthorization bill runs through 2023, we do have that coming up not too far on down the pike. And so people are already starting to gear up for, okay, what are some of the next major tasks that we need to tackle in the FAA and the aviation aerospace realm with that reauthorization bill package coming up in 2023. Last but not least, we had a couple of virtual meetings. Senator Inhofe's legislative staff. I know a lot of you know about Dan Hillenbrand, who was Senator Inhofe's longtime aviation transportation legislative assistant. Both good and bad. He was promoted, so he was moving up to legislative director. But that also means we're losing him a little bit as the aviation go-to guy. But that being said, he's hired a couple of new people to work underneath him, Victor Sarmiento and Dixon Yonan, the LA and LC. And I visited with them in February and had a pretty good discussion and conversation on, okay, here's priorities for aviation aerospace in the state. They were very open and very excited to meet aviation professionals here in Oklahoma. I think they may be looking at an in-person visit sometime in the month of April. Definitely want to roll out the red carpet and show the new aviation and transportation officials what aviation aerospace means to the great state and everything. Lastly, we had a Contract Tower Association board meeting. There's some great things happening with the Contract Tower Association board. This is my second meeting to attend since having been nominated for the Contract Tower Policy Board. As we know, 6 of our 9 contract towers across the state, 6 of our 9 control towers across the state are contract towers. So it's very important that we are plugged in and we are made aware of things that are happening that could impact the United States Contract Tower Program. So Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, that's my director's report. I will stand for any questions or comments that you may have, but thank you for the opportunity to brief you this morning.
Thank you, Grayson. I appreciate it. Good job. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? All right, we'll move on to item 5, aviation aerospace education outreach. Ms. Ketty, would you grace us, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you may recall, in our last meeting, we talked a little bit about the Commission developing an FAA 625 Workforce Development Grant, Aircraft Pilot Pathway Grant. And in that grant, we have included a goal of increasing the number of Oklahoma high schools that will teach the AOPA You Can Fly high school curriculum. And so rather than wait for the grants to be awarded, we decided to move forward in contacting as many high schools and superintendents as possible to talk a little bit about the curriculum and the advantages and what it could offer to schools. So in the last about 6 weeks, I visited 17 Oklahoma superintendents and principals about the curriculum, and the response has just been tremendous. Schools are eager, even in these difficult times, to offer quality STEM programming to students. In some cases, I just reached out to superintendents that I had already worked with or served with and that I knew were interested in STEM programming. In some cases, in one case, a young American Airlines pilot from Pauls Valley said, I want my Garvin County schools to know about the AOPA curriculum. And so he went with me on several visits to school superintendents to talk to them about the work. Yesterday, 2 superintendents contacted me and said, hey, we've heard about this. Would you come see us next week? So I have some more appointments set up. The windows for school to register closes in May to register for 21-22. So we are working furiously to try to get the word out. There are 537 school districts in Oklahoma, so we have our work cut out for us. And as you know, you can't just email them or call them and say, hey, why don't you teach AOPA curriculum? It takes some hand-holding. It takes some help and support, which I'm definitely willing to do. So if you have schools that you would like for me to reach out to and you want to pave the way for me to visit with the superintendent or email that superintendent and try to set up a meeting, I would love to do that. I'm going to try to work quickly in the next few weeks. This has been very gratifying for me. I'm really excited about the progress that we're making as we visit. Some of these schools are some of Oklahoma's very largest school districts that I visited. Others are our very smallest. And I have a passion for making sure our rural schools know about aviation education. I would certainly welcome any questions, should you have some, and thank you for this very important opportunity.
Thank you, Paul. I think what you're doing is incredibly important. It's being noticed at various levels within the state. The Air Force Association and their STEM program is very excited about what you're doing. Have you had a chance to bounce off the Edmond School District?
Not yet, but I plan to, yes. And Norman as well. And there's some other metro schools that we definitely need to. I am going to Pryor next week. I have some set, but I will try to have Edmond and Norman in my sites that I need to get to before the window closes.
Okay, anyone else have any comments or questions for Paula? Thank you very much. We really appreciate your report and we're excited about what you're doing. I think it's very important.
Thank you so much.
Next up is Chris Wadsworth with the financial report. Chris?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As of February 28th, the Commission had an ending cash balance of $1.5 million, with encumbrances totaling $4.3 million. Estimated statutory revenues for the remainder of this fiscal year are $2.6 million, and outstanding reimbursements owed to the agency total $1.9 million, which leaves us with an expected available cash balance of about $1.7 million. The amount of remaining expenditures in the airport construction program that could be incurred this fiscal year total $1.4 million, provided those funds are available and the grants are approved. And our total year-to-date expenditures during this fiscal year are $5.6 million as of the end of February. Moving on to the revenue document, total statutory revenue collected for the month of January was $184,710. In February was just over $100,000. Total statutory revenues collected through February of this fiscal year total $2.1 million, which compares to $3.6 million for the same time frame last year. So we are currently down about 40%. And that is due mostly to the aircraft excise tax collections. You can see on the slide there, after a few good months there in November and December of revenue collections, we have seen the revenue decline quite a bit in January and February. I will note that Grace and I have met with the tax commission a few times since dating back to about December, I believe it was, to try to get some more information on why excise tax collections are down so much. Is it because less aircraft are being sold, or more people claiming exemptions than previously? So we're discussing several ideas with them on how we can ensure the taxes that are owed are actually being paid, and hope to find some solutions moving forward that ensures we're receiving the revenue that we're owed. Finally, on the last page, you'll see that our revenue collected from this fiscal year to date for our statutory revenue is about $890,000 less than what our 3-year average is. With that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Is there any view that the collection will increase and we'll get back to a normal amount, or does the tax commission have any idea on that?
Well, yeah, and I'll let Grayson add a little bit more if he wants to. We're definitely working through a few different options on our end, and they are looking into some on their end, a few different departments over there. We certainly hope November and December we're gonna kind of be that uptick and get us back to normal, but the last few months have decreased back to like we were at the beginning of this fiscal year.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add, I've been paying close attention to the daily briefs that we get from such as a General Aviation Manufacturers Association or a National Business Aviation Association. Right now, I think they're projecting to get back to pre-COVID level sales by the late summer, early fall of this year. It is on the upswing. Aircraft sales are happening again. I think the key cog in any wheel in Oklahoma, specifically when it comes to aircraft sales, is oil and gas. And I'm somewhat glad to see oil is back above $65 a barrel, because I think that will obviously allow our oil and gas companies to potentially think about aircraft sales, aircraft transactions when it was down below 40 or even in the negative territory there for a little bit during COVID. Obviously, all aircraft transactions probably halted. Now, the used aircraft market was definitely going. And so I think that's probably what kept us alive during the COVID time was the used aircraft market. The new aircraft market, I think, is going to make a rebound. And like Chris was indicating, I'm hopeful that with the tax commission putting a little bit more eyes on aircraft excise tax and all the revenues that we should be getting, hopefully we can make the turn sometime this summer and get back to a normal level of revenue. That's the goal. Because yeah, we can't continue at this current rate and still have a good airport grant program like we have in years past.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just adverse to spending money we don't have. Old fashioned, I guess. Okay. Any other questions for Chris? All right, moving on to item 7, transportation modernization. Chris and Grayson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Transportation modernization, we've briefed you about it several times for the last 6 to 8 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. We've been working on the current state analysis, where we're currently at in the transportation cabinet. What are the policies and procedures for various activities that go on at OAC, at Department of Transportation, at the Turnpike Authority? That current state analysis was released several weeks ago. It was really quite an eye-opening experience, as has the Transportation Modernization Initiative in general. Just the different things that ODOT does, ways that maybe we could take advantage of some of those items in our daily processes. In fact, Sandra is going to talk about one of those things that we're already identifying to be able to take advantage of. And moving forward into the next steps regarding, how do we change from the current state? What are some modernization efficiencies we can achieve? What are some sharing of resources we can achieve? Where are some integration opportunities? So I'll let Chris kind of identify the details. I think you have up here on the slide the timeline, but Chris, I'll let you take it away and finish this up.
Sure. So just a little bit more information about the current state to maybe give you an idea of the breadth of that endeavor. That assessment ended up being a 190-page report. For that, Guidehouse, the firm kind of overseeing this initiative, reviewed 800 documents, conducted 213 interviews, and they've also looked at least 6 other Department of Transportations across the country to see how we stack up with those other agencies. As part of the current state, there were 3 immediate initiatives that were identified, and implementation of those has already begun. There is one of those that will have some effect on our agency, and that is looking to the communications and public relations areas where there might be some opportunities for shared services in that functional area. So as Grayson mentioned, we are now transitioning to working on future recommendations. I know he and I both spend hours upon hours every week in meetings regarding those, looking at different areas within our agencies. And then as the timeline there shows, we'll have that presented in June, and we'll certainly bring that back to you all to give you an update and discuss what areas of our agency will be impacted and what the cabinet looks like moving forward.
Thank you, Chris. That's I don't know that I have anything else to add to that. We're obviously eagerly looking forward to how this looks for us and for the transportation cabinet, and this is definitely exciting times for transportation in Oklahoma.
Right, any other comments on this? Then we'll move on to item 8, legislative, congressional, and regulatory update. Grayson and Sandra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, we are in the midst of the 2021 legislative session here in the state. There's a lot of things happening at the federal level too. I'm going to let Sandra, if you would indulge me, let Sandra talk about the state process and some of the bills that are going through, and then I'll pick up on the congressional update.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thursday is the deadline for third reading of bills and joint resolutions in the Chamber of Origin. Oklahoma legislators have had a busy week, with each house needing to address approximately 300 bills by tomorrow. A record amount of bills was filed this session, which was 3,400. And surprisingly, of those bills, not many will become law. In Governor Stitt's first year, he signed 515 bills. Though some 2,800 bills were filed, and in 2020 he signed 176, but that number reflects the shortened session due to COVID-19. This session, the Commission brought forth to you, as you well know, because you approved our legislative agenda in October, Senate Bill 258 and Senate Bill 2257 would have removed the cap placed on the agency, the $4.5 million cap. Neither of those bills prevailed. They were not heard in the Senate Appropriations or the House Appropriations and Budget Committees. Senate Bill 893 is the engineer tax credit bill. This year, Senator Adam Pugh and Senator Rob Standridge filed bills simultaneously to address this. Senator Standridge yielded his bill, Senate Bill 266, to make way for Senate Bill 893. And the bill would clarify qualified programs as they relate to the income tax credit for aerospace employees to include graduate and undergraduate programs. We are still awaiting that bill to be heard on the floor. It has until tomorrow to be heard. And we have been in contact with Senator Pugh's office, the floor leader's office, and Secretary Gatz has also advocated for the hearing of the bill. Senate Bill 659 and House Bill 2174 establishes a UAS clearinghouse and would make the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission the lead agency for the state's unmanned aerial systems program. And House Bill 2174 passed yesterday 94-0, and it also passed the Senate 44-1, being there was only one dissenting vote. And so that is really good. We were happy with that. And so that will now proceed on to the House of Representatives for consideration. And we do expect that it will prevail there and be signed by the governor. And House Bill 1376 is the ODOT bidding use bill. The bill would permit the agency to use the Oklahoma Department of Transportation's bidding system. And this is a concept that Director Ardes brought forth. And we were very fortunate to have the Speaker of the House. Grayson was able to visit with the Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the House actually used one of his bills to insert the language into, and so Director Ardes was good to do that. And so it passed the House 93-3, and there were only 3 votes in dissension against the bill, and we do expect that it will prevail in the Senate. Senate Bill 941 is the Aerospace Sector Products and Parts Manufacturing Bill, filed by Senator Shane Jett out of Shawnee, and it passed the Senate yesterday 38-7. And the bill relates to the Quality Jobs Program and specifies that the sector shall include all aerospace products and parts manufacturing activities defined or classified in the North American Industry Classification System Manual. Some dormant bills that did not prevail is House Bill 1694 that would have protected privately owned airports in the state from construction encroachment, and it died in House rules without a hearing. Senate Bill 938 would have sunset the tuition reimbursement from companies at the end of tax year 2021 for automotive and aerospace manufacturers, and that bill was not heard in the Senate Finance Committee. We are always watching this, and you can always contact me if you have any questions. I yield, Mr. Chairman and Director Artis, for questions.
I was hoping we'd get that cap removed, but died ignominiously, apparently. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, let me expound upon that a little bit. We had obviously a couple of good authors, Representative Hilber on the House side, and obviously Senator Racino on the Senate side, and I know Senator Racino was pushing very hard right up until the last point, as was Secretary Gatz. Went and had a personal conversation with the chairman about our cap bill. I think the concern is, as it always has been, that there's an effort in the state legislature to get a handle on off the top monies, and obviously this is off the top monies. The logic says that we shouldn't have a cap. We probably never should have had a cap from the get-go, but this is the situation we're in. I'm hopeful that in maybe a future budget year where we're not looking at flat budgets or decreasing budgets, or the legislature having to address new appropriation needs or new funding needs for various activities, that the cap will get lifted. I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, though, as you saw from Chris's explanation, we're not in any concern of breaking the cap this year, and that's why I don't know that maybe the impetus or the thrust behind it wasn't really there, was because they knew we were so far from the cap that next session that we could take a look at it. And I think that's where next session the budget's looking a little brighter, the economy is looking a little bit better. Potentially the cap could get removed at that point. I want the cap gone as much as anybody else. And I'll say this, the cap is not guaranteed revenue. It's only guaranteed if we exceed $4.5 million in that particular year. One of the things that we may not need to start looking at is there other guaranteed revenue sources, like an appropriation? Is that potential? Do we need to put our hand out for receiving some additional appropriated dollars, which I know we've all discussed in the past, both myself and former Director Vic Bird. So that's something we need to look at in the future. And yeah, I'm with you. Would love to see the cap gone. It just unfortunately did not happen this year in appropriations. I think partly it was due because of the concerns, and then also because of the weather. They were up against a late deadline trying to get all the bills through appropriations.
Okay, thank you very much. A congressional update?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congressional update. I think most everybody, unless they've been hiding around, has known that there's relief packages that are on the plate. One which was passed back in December. The current one, which is being considered, which is the American Rescue Plan. In the December package, the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act, or the CRSA, passed in December of 2020, provided about $2 billion for airports. That was a little bit low compared to what airports are asking for. I know airports were disappointed, but still happy that we were able to get something. Of that $2 billion, 1.75 went to commercial. 200 million was designated for concessionaires at airports, and 45 million went to general aviation. Of that 45, 5 was actually reserved for contract tower airports. If you look at the classifications, or if you saw the press release that Sandra posted several weeks ago, FAA finally announced here's how much money each airport was going to be getting out of that December bill, based on asset classifications, national, regional, local, and basic. There's various funding levels. So $57,000 for national airports, $23,000 for regional, $13,000 for local, and $9,000 for basic airports. And I know FAA right now is working on getting grant applications out to all the airports in Oklahoma and across the country so that they can take advantage of that relief funding. Total, Oklahoma received about $15.2 million out of that package. Obviously, the lion's share went to Tulsa International and Will Rogers World Airport. Will Rogers received about 6.5 million. Tulsa received about 5.5 million. And then our other two commercial airports, Lawton and Stillwater East, received a little over $1 million. So I know those airports are very glad for that relief. I know there's lots of activities happening on the Hill. Airports are still hurting. Activity at general aviation airports is varied. Some are up, some are down. They still need the relief from the perspective of most of the time the airports are relying upon city budgets for matches to capital projects. And those city budgets are still hurting just as bad as anybody else's budgets are right now. Under the American Rescue Plan, although it has not yet been passed, the House, I believe, is going to consider the Senate version sometime this week. That's the rumor. It's going to be passed out of the House by the end of the current week. Right now in the bill, you have $8 billion for airports, 6.5 of that going to commercial airports, 800 million going to concessionaires, 100 million going to general aviation airports, and probably the thing that's most of importance to us at OAC is that there's $600 million going to make the AIP program 100% funded in FY 2021. Mr. Chairman, that goes back to your point. As you know, last year when AIP became 100%, that saved us about $900,000 of funding, because we make 5% of the matches towards the discretionary and state apportionment projects in our airport construction program. And so this year, if this passes, FY 2021 FAA projects will be 100%, and hopefully we'll be able to save a similar amount of money from not having to do the 5% matches for those discretionary and state apportionment projects. Lastly, but not least, the Contract Act. Senator Inhofe's office released the current version of the Contract Act. It was a bill that was hopefully going to be included in one of the relief packages last year, did not make it. This year, they're hopeful to get it back in. There are some provisions that when a controller retires at 56, which is their mandatory retirement age, they are punished for going back to work and working in collecting a salary or collecting income. What this bill does is it eliminates that punishment and allows our retired FAA controllers to go work at contract towers and provide a much needed workforce improvement for those towers in their years after they retire from FAA, but before they really want to truly retire. This issue had been fixed for controllers that wanted to go work for FAA and do training at the Mike Monroe Aeronautical Center in the air traffic control training world. And so now we're just simply trying to move that fix over to mirror for those that want to go work in the contract tower world. I was able to get a letter of support organized between myself and the 6 contract towers in the state and sent that to Senator Inhofe's office a couple of weeks ago before he announced that bill. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'll stand for any questions on the legislative, congressional, and regulatory update.
Thank you, Grayson. And it sounds like you're doing some good work on that Contract Act. Thank you. Any other comments? All right, moving on to item 9, partnership sponsorship with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce for the MRO Americas. Grayson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are getting back to the slate of doing in-person events. This is the first in-person conference that Commerce has participated in over 12 months. As we've done in years past, recommend a partnership for up to $5,000 for OAC to join the MRO Americas adventure in Orlando, Florida. Staff recommends approval, and I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions or discussion on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
That Kevin, was that your nomination there?
Yes.
Okay, and we recorded the second.
Yeah. Ritz.
Thank you, Lindsay. Andrea, would you call a roll on this then?
Commissioner Potter,
Yes.
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Putnam,
Aye, we can barely hear you.
Commissioner Hunter,
Motion is passed. Moving on, item 10, partnership sponsorship with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce for AUVSI Exponential. Grayson, can you explain that, please?
Yes, sir. A very similar proposition. AUVSI Exponential, going to be an in-person event in August in Atlanta, Georgia. They're also doing an earlier virtual event in May. Would like $5,000 to attend this event as we have in years past. AUVSI, for those that don't know, is the Association of Unmanned Vehicle Systems International. This is one of the world-renowned UAS events. And given that OAC is trying to position ourselves to be the go-to UAS organization in the state, important for us to join the Department of Commerce along with this economic development trip. Staff recommends approval, and I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? If so, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. This is Kevin.
Second, David Conway.
Very good. Motion is second. Andrew, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Potter,
Aye.
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Chairman Putnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion's passed. Moving on to item 11, 5-year airport construction program. Mr. Young, would you talk to us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. This is this item for a 5-year airport construction program, as it is that time of year again. Every March, we bring before you the new projects and any changes that staff is proposing for the next iteration of the airport construction program. This will be for fiscal year 2022 through 2026 timeframe. And before we go through the slides, one item that we had some conversation and comment on previously, you will see that the project summary references on the slides, they reference the calendar years rather than the fiscal years you might see on some of the financial tables in the actual ACP document. We've included the calendar years mainly for the sake of simplicity, as most of the general public usually wants to know when the projects are actually taking place rather than the fiscal year in which they're granted. So we do that just so we can note when we expect the projects to actually take place. And as we know, the airport construction program is our guide that programs federal dollars, state dollars, and local dollars for our general aviation airports here in the state. It does also program some state and local dollars for commercial airports if there is a project that we are going to participate in, and there is one that we'll see a little bit later on in the presentation. However, we do not direct the federal funds for the commercial service airports like we do for the general aviation airports that are part of the airport construction program, or ACP. I'll try to work through these projects as quickly and painlessly as possible. I think we have 37 slides to go through, which is up from our 20 of last year. But I will primarily focus on the newly added projects rather than those that are having some minor changes, sliding up, sliding back, or just having some funding changes added to this iteration of the ACP. If at any point anybody needs any further detail for any of the projects, obviously, please feel free to stop me so that we can discuss those items further. There was also a summary that was provided in the commission packet that shows all of the existing and proposed projects for the ACP, and each change or addition to the ACP is highlighted in green. And as we start our slideshow, the first project up for consideration is at the Ardmore Municipal Airport. This project is to rehabilitate runway 1331 with a joint seal and spall repair. This is an existing project in the ACP, and it's simply being moved up the year based on some of our discussions we've had with the FAA. We typically try to meet twice a year with FAA down in Ardmore. Obviously, this year looked a little bit different due to COVID-19, and we instead met virtually. The goal of this meeting is usually to have our OAC staff and FAA staff sit down and discuss the big rock projects and the projects where we're looking to direct federal funds to the airports across the state. Many of the changes that you'll see listed today are a result of our virtual meeting with FAA this year. For this rehabilitation project at Ardmore Municipal Airport, the project cost is staying the same. We're simply moving forward a year for this discretionary project. Since it is a discretionary project, 90% of the funds will come from FAA, 5% will come from OAC, and a 5% local match on that as well. Obviously, with this presentation, we are assuming that this is what the funding will look like, and we will modify as needed if the relief efforts do indeed pass later on in legislation. So the total project cost for this project is just over $1.2 million, 1.1 coming from the FAA, and the commission and local shares at just over $64,000 for this particular project. And again, we're just moving this up 1 year. The next project is also at Ardmore Municipal Airport, but it is a new project that we are looking to add to the ACP for your consideration. And this is to begin phase 1 of a parallel taxiway project for that primary runway 1331 there at Ardmore. The primary runway is just over 9,000 feet, but it still does not have a parallel taxiway out there. There was a recent project for taxiway alpha, north-south taxiway that leads off of the primary apron down there. And that has led to the connection at that northwest end there for runway 13. And this project will extend that to the southeast toward taxiway Bravo, which is the east-west taxiway there about midfield in the general layout of the airport there. And obviously with this first phase, we're looking to get as far as we can with the funding available. And this project will work towards satisfying FAA design standards, as this is a runway with an instrument approach having visibility minimums of under a mile. We're looking to both increase safety and standards there at the airport with this project and meet those FAA design standards that it is currently not meeting. This is another discretionary project at 90% FAA, 5% OAC, and 5% local funding. Total project cost of $5.4 million. The FAA portion just over $4.8 million. The commission offering $250,000 for this project, and you'll notice the local share is a little above that $250,000 mark, $290,000. For some of these projects you see in here, we did include the NPE funded design only cost that the local share that will be incurred at the local level, just so you could see it here represented. So for design and construction, the local share total will be $290,000, $40,000 for design, and $250,000 for the construct on the local share for that project. The next project is at Boise City. Oh, pardon me. It looks like I skipped one here at Blackwell-Tonkawa Municipal Airport. Never want to forget about Blackwell-Tonkawa. This project, again, was in the previously approved ACP to widen and overlay the runway. We simply updated our amounts based on our meeting with FAA, another discretionary project at the 95 and 5 split for a total project cost of just under $2.4 million. The FAA providing $2.1 million of that, just under $110,000 from the commission, and the local share being a little over $126,000 again for the design and construction of this project. Again, we are just updating those figures for this one based on our virtual meeting with FAA. The next project is that Boise City project I referenced just a moment ago. This is to rehabilitate the runway pavement and also install LED runway lights. We are, again, updating the funding numbers based on our meeting with FAA. This is not a discretionary project, however. This will include state apportionment and non-primary entitlement funding and PE funding. And our OAC will be helping sponsor with their local match as well as with the runway lights on this project for a total project cost of $1.7 million. The FAA contributing just under $1.2 million, $458,000 from the commission, and $92,000 of the local share. The next project is, again, an existing project at Claremore Regional Airport. This project is rehabilitate a portion of the apron, and it is simply sliding up a year. This will include state apportionment funding, non-primary entitlement, and OAC funding for a total project cost of $1 million. The FAA contributing $900,000, and both the commission and local shares anticipated at $50,000 for this project. The next project is at Clinton Regional, and this is a project to rehabilitate runway 1735, and this one simply is moving forward a year in the ACP. It is another discretionary project at 90% FAA, 5% OAC, and 5% local funding for a total project cost of just over $2.8 million. 2.5 of that will be FAA funding, $125,000 from the commission, and the local share for design and construction at just over $141,000 for this project to rehabilitate the runway out in Clinton Regional Airport. At Cushing Municipal Airport, there is a new project we are putting up for consideration in the ACP to reconstruct and realign the parallel taxiway for the primary runway. As you can see from this aerial image, there is no true parallel taxiway out here at Cushing Municipal Airport. And the red highlighted section there is where this project will start working its way up from the south to create the parallel taxiway for this airport. This project will help work towards satisfying the FAA design standards again for runways with instrument approaches having visibility minimums under 1 mile to have that parallel taxiway system for those runways. This is another discretionary project at 95 and 5 split for a total project cost of $5.4 million. The FAA providing $4.8 million just over for that project, the commission at $250,000, and the local share at $290,000, again for the design and construction of this project at Cushing. El Reno Regional Airport has 3 different projects we'll talk about today. 2 of those are just minor modifications. The first one being this rehabilitation of the runway 1735 at El Reno Regional. We simply updated the funding amounts per our meeting with the FAA for a total project cost of $766,000. FAA contributing $150,000 of that. That was the additional portion here of MPE funds. The commission will provide $570,000 of that, and the local share at just over $46,000 for the design and construction of the runway rehabilitation. The next project at El Reno Regional is to construct a taxi lane for new hangar development. As I'm sure most of us are aware, there is a new terminal that is getting underway to be installed there. It's constructed at El Reno Regional, and due to that, one of the round top hangars will be going away. And so this will help to expand the hangar area out to the east of the main terminal area. As Director Artie mentioned earlier, there is an expansion outside of the metro area of businesses and people kind of overflowing into the surrounding areas, and El Reno is certainly capturing some of that activity, and they are looking to we're looking to help them capture that economic development opportunity at the airport, and offering to expand this to the east so that they can still have some look to build some additional hangar facilities out to the east of the main apron, in conjunction, coming a little bit after the installation and construction of the terminal building out there. So I know that our friend Adam Fox is very excited for all of these projects, especially the terminal building, and they are certainly slated to capture those opportunities out in the area. So again, this is this project for the taxi lanes is simply moving forward a year, and for a total project cost of just over $950,000, FAA portion at $454,000, commission at $450,000. And a little over $47,000 of local funding for the taxi lane project for new hangar development. The last project in El Reno is a new project to install taxiway lighting and signage, including their PAPIs, precision approach path indicators, and runway end identifier lights, REALs. Proposed project is to install this lighting and signage, as they only have reflectors currently out at the airport on their taxiway. And they're currently experiencing that increased traffic that we reference here, with that increased traffic out to the surrounding metro areas, and that includes night traffic and training at the airport. The project would also replace the PAPIs and REALs, as these were installed over 20 years ago and reached the end of their useful life, and those systems experience frequent malfunctions and are ready for replacement. So it is natural that during this project it would be beneficial to go ahead and get those replaced now and help enjoy some of those cost savings of having the contractor already on site. Total project costs anticipated just over $1.1 million. The FAA portion at $845,000, commission at $150,000, and the local funding at $110,000, just over for the design and construct of this project. The next project is an existing project in Elk City. And this is another taxi lane project, and we're simply sliding this one back a year in the ACP. Total project cost is $789,474. FAA portion at $300,000. The commission support at $450,000, and just under $40,000 for the local share on this taxi lane project in Elk City. The next project is another new project that we are putting for your consideration in the ACP. This is an apron and rehabilitation and reconfiguration at ENID-WOODRING Regional Airport. As I'm sure we're all aware, ENID has a thriving airport out there, and unfortunately, The apron is experiencing some seasonal distresses and needs to be rehabilitated, and the apron will also be reconfigured in order to address safety and standards issues that are caused by the current geometry and to help optimize the main apron area, parking area for transient aircraft. Obviously, they get a lot of business jet aircraft as well as military aircraft out there on the ramp, and we want to make sure that the configuration is acceptable for the safe movement of aircraft, whether they're coming in to refuel or eat at barnstormers. Whatever the case may be, we just want to make sure that we're upholding the standards during this project as it is ready to be rehabilitated anyway. This is one of the unique ones for a main apron at a general aviation airport that will be seeking discretionary funding for. While aprons often do not compete well for discretionary funding at general aviation airports, we do feel, after talking to our counterparts across the country and seeing other aprons that have been receiving discretionary funding, that this project will compete well. We believe that if other GA airports across the country with similar traffic levels compete, then we certainly should be able to as well here in the state of Oklahoma. And that is not to say that there won't be hurdles in that process, but staff here at OAC believes that this is a project we feel will be worthy of that effort, to put our time and effort to try to get that discretionary funding for this project. So again, seeking a discretionary funding at 90% FAA, 5% OAC, and 5% local, at a total project cost of just over $2.6 million. The FAA contributing $2.4 million of that, commission at $125,000, and $143,000 of local funding for the design and construction of ENID-WOODRING Regional Airport's apron. At Grove Municipal Airport, we'll be looking to rehabilitate runway 1836 with an overlay and also replace the runway lighting. We updated the funding amounts based on the FAA meeting. This is another discretionary project at the 90%, 5%, 5% split, with the total project cost of just over $3.5 million. The FAA at just over 3.2, 165,000, just shy of 166 from the commission, and a little over 192,000 of local share for the design and construction of the runway and overlay and the runway lighting project. At Guthrie Edmond Regional Airport, this is another parallel taxiway project, and this project is an existing project that we've talked about before that addresses the safety and design standard separation issues here at Guthrie. And we simply updated the funding amounts based on the expected discretionary funding based on our conversation with FAA. So again, another discretionary project at the 95 and 5% splits for a total project cost of just under $6.5 million, with a little over $5.8 million of FAA funding for that project. Commission providing $300,000 and just shy of $350,000 of local share. At GUYMON Municipal Airport, this is an existing project to rehabilitate the runway pavement. And again, just simply updating the FAA funding amounts based on the funding amounts based on our meeting with the FAA. Again, another discretionary project for a total of just over $4.8 million for this. FAA providing $4.3 million. The commission at just shy of $225,000 and a little over $260,000 on the local share for their portion of design and construction on that project. At Hobart Regional Airport, this is an existing project that includes for runway rehabilitation that will include a standard crack seal and seal coat. This project is sliding back 1 year on the ACP. It is a state-only project, which means 95% of the project will be OAC funding with a 5% local match. Total project cost for this crack seal coat is $300,000. Commission funding level at $285,000, and the local match set at $15,000 for this project. At Medill Municipal Airport, the project out there is to construct a new runway. You can see from the diagram there the existing runway in blue and the new proposed runway in red. Kind of similar to what we saw in the Bristow project, in the not too distant past here fairly recently. So the idea here is obviously just looking to accommodate an extension and address some safety and standards issues here for the businesses that have been attempting to utilize the Medill Airport. We're simply looking in this iteration to slide the project back a year, and that will allow the airport to work to provide the appropriate justification with FAA to ensure that this can be programmed appropriately moving forward. for a total project cost of $5.4 million. A little over 4.8 million of that in FAA funding, commission funding at $250,000, and $290,000 of the local portion for the design and construction portions of that. At the McCurtain County Regional Airport in Idabel, this is another rehabilitation of the runway. It's simply going to be an asphalt overlay for this runway, runway 220. There it's in Idabel. This project is moving forward a year on the ACP. It's another discretionary project for a total project cost of $3.3 million, just over, a little over $3 million of FAA funding. The commission providing a little over $155,000 and the local share at around $175,000. Again, with their portion going to their match on the design and also for the construction. At Miami Regional Airport, there is an existing project to realign the south portion of the parallel taxiway. Again, these parallel taxiway projects primarily to address safety and standards deficiencies, and also for this one to allow for better approach minimums. This project will be sliding back a year. We have it calendar year 2026 is where it'll be sliding back to. Another discretionary project at the 95 and 5 split for a total project cost of $4.3 million. The FAA providing a little over $3.8 million of that, $200,000 from the commission, and the local funding level at $232,000. Muskogee Davis Regional Airport has a couple of projects. The first one being an existing project to rehabilitate runway 1331, lights, the PAPIs, the beacon, and the electrical vault. These lights have reached the end of their useful life, so it's only fair to go ahead and address all of the items that need to be addressed during this project while the contractor's on site for the lights, the PAPIs, the beacons, and the vault. And this existing project is simply moving forward a year. It is another discretionary project that coming in at a total project cost of just over $1.9 million. The FAA providing 1.7 of that. The commission funding level at just over $88,000, and the local share at a little over $102,000 to rehabilitate the lights and the lighting systems there at Muskogee Davis Regional. The second project at Muskogee Davis Regional that we are presenting before you is a new project for consideration of the ACP to rehabilitate that same runway, 1331, based on the airport pavement management system that we have in place that we recently revamped here for OAC. We do anticipate the pavement will be ready for rehabilitation come 2026. And that meets both our anticipated pavement condition index anticipation of 65. And as most of us know, or many of us know, our goal here at OAC is to provide all airside pavements to a pavement condition index of 65 or greater, especially the runway pavements at our regional business airports like those in Muskogee that do a whole lot of operations over the course of the year. With this, we are utilizing our pavement management system to program this for the out years, as we normally call them, and 2026 being the back end of the ACP, and so this also meets our standard maintenance timeline for asphalt in anticipation of what the needs will be as we move forward. Obviously, if we see anything during our inspections or this needs to be modified, we'll bring it back to you for approval at that point in time. But as of now, we're looking to program this for 2026 as a discretionary project, again, a 90%, 5%, 5% split at a total project cost of just over $4.3 million. The FAA providing a little over $3.8 million of that, $200,000 at the commission level, and the local funding of $232,000. The next project, we have two that we'll discuss in Pauls Valley. Pauls Valley Municipal Airports is looking to construct some new hangar developments down there, and in support of that, we are looking to construct a taxi lane to provide access to this new city hangar development. This project's really intended to help the city capture the economic opportunities present at the airport and assist in providing access to the new hangar developments that the city will be funding. As we've discussed several times already, as more and more people and businesses expand out of the metro, this will allow the airport to capture some of the demand that they're seeing and capitalize on the opportunity at hand to get some of the businesses and attract them to the Pauls Valley Municipal Airport. Total project cost for this is $500,000. The commission $475,000 and the $25,000 local match as a state-only project for this one. The second project at Pauls Valley is to rehabilitate the runway pavement. And this airport receives a lot of business jet traffic, and it was brought to the attention of OAC staff that the runway was exhibiting some distresses that had the potential to affect the maneuverability of aircraft, especially that of fast-moving jet aircraft. Director Ardes was actually able to conduct a site visit and was able to meet with the airport and experience the deficiencies firsthand. And while the runway is currently safe for operations, it was determined that we do need to get this programmed so that the issues are addressed in a timely manner so it doesn't deteriorate even further and cause some issues that become a little bit more detrimental to the operations down there. This is one of those items where if you're walking down the runway and doing a pavement inspection or even driving down in a car, you can't quite go as fast as the jets do to really feel what they feel. And because Director Ardes was able to do so, that led us to get the documentation we need to go ahead and program this for searching for a 2025 calendar year start date on this, and a discretionary project of a total project cost of just over $5.7 million. The FAA portion just over 5.1, $264,000 from the commission, and the local funding at $306,000 for this project. At Perry Municipal Airport, there is an existing runway rehabilitation project that we're simply looking to slide back a year. It's a state-only project at 95% OAC, 5% local match. Total project cost of $300,000. Commission providing $285,000 of that and $15,000 for the local match. At Robert S. Kerr Airport in Poto, this is another existing project that's already in the ACP for a runway extension and rehabilitation. This is simply sliding back a year in the ACP. The extension is a discretionary project, and then the rehabilitation is kind of done as a 95-5 split between OAC and the locality. So that's why you see the commission level being a little bit higher than you might see a normal discretionary project of this magnitude. So the total project cost altogether is $5.5 million, a little over 4.6 of that being FAA funding. The commission providing $540,000 of that. So again, that's to meet their match on the extension, but also provide the funding for the rehabilitation portion, and then the local match at $280,000, just over $280,000 for both the match on the extension and the rehabilitation. In Salazar Municipal Airport has a project currently in the ACP to install LED runway lights, a lighted windsock, a vault, and also to rehabilitate the runway, or excuse me, the taxiway. This existing project is simply sliding back a year and consists of OAC, FAA, and FAA non-primary entitlement projects. The non-primary entitlement funds are going to lights, the windsock, and the electrical vault. The OAC portion is for the rehabilitation of the taxiway pavement with a basic crack seal and seal coat for this project. Total project cost for everything is $815,000, just a little over. The FAA portion on those non-primary entitlement funds being $450,000. Commission providing a little over $301,000 and just shy of $65,000 on the local level. Salazar Municipal Airport also has a new project, and that we're looking to add to the ACP, and that is to rehabilitate the runway pavement. This project will consist of an asphalt overlay. As we talked a little bit before about pavement condition index, based on our pavement management system, come time for this project, the pavement condition index will be at a 53. And again, our goal is to provide airside pavements at a pavement condition index above 65, especially for the runways at our regional business airports. We'll be seeking discretionary funding for this at a 90%, 5% split for a total project cost just over $2.1 million, just shy of $2 million on the FAA side of things. Commission providing $100,000 and the local share at $116,000. At Shawnee Regional Airport, they also have a new project that we are looking to add to the airport construction program. This project is to rehabilitate and expand the main apron. The apron is exhibiting the seasonal distresses that we would expect to see, such as weathering, raveling, and longitudinal transverse cracking. There's also a need to expand the apron due to the operational demand in order to more safely accommodate the variety of aircraft that utilize the Shawnee Regional Airport. It will be more cost effective to expand the apron while workers and equipment are present for the rehabilitation. This is another one of those apron projects where we will be seeking discretionary funding at the 90%, 5%, 5% split. And we do think that this project will compete well, much like ENID will, in the competition for the discretionary funding at the FAA level. Total project cost anticipated at $2.7 million. The FAA funding for that at just over $2.4 million. The commission providing $125,000 and $145,000 at the local level. South Grand Lake Regional Airport. There is an existing project to construct a new parallel taxiway, and this one we're simply moving forward 2 years. This change was made again based on our meeting with the FAA, based on when they have the discretionary funding programmed in their system. So this is again a discretionary project for the taxiway. This is a new taxiway being constructed at total project cost of just over $5.8 million, FAA at just under $5.3, and the commission providing $271,000 and the local funding at just shy of $315,000 for the design and construction shares at the local level for this project. At Stigler Regional Airport, this is another parallel taxiway construction that we are simply looking to slide back a year. And this is, again, as with all parallel taxiway systems, just looking to ensure safety and limit the time that aircraft spend on the runway. And so this one we will be seeking discretionary funding, and again, just sliding back a year to the 2026 timeframe. And total project cost of just shy of $2.4 million for this one. A little over $2.1 million at the FAA level. Commission funding at $110,000 and $127,000 of the local share. At Stillwater Regional Airport, this is a new project, and this is to help with the construction of their new terminal building. This is one of those instances I talked about at the beginning of the presentation where we will put some state funding into a commercial service airport project, much like we did with the Lawton terminal building. This project is being inserted in 2024 to coincide with the FAA funding schedule. As we can see here, there's a lot of FAA funding going into this. So we wanted to be able to coordinate with when that project was slated in the FAA programming. As with all terminal building projects, OAC will provide half the cost up to our $500,000 match. So the anticipated cost of this terminal building at Stillwater Regional is $12.5 million, with the FAA providing $10.8 million of that. The commission's $500,000, and then the local share at $1.2 million for the terminal building out there. At Stroud Municipal Airport, this is a new project to add to the ACP to extend the runway by 500 feet to the south. They're looking to get to a total length of 3,500 feet. The airport currently cannot satisfy the demand based on the FAA aviation demand criteria, and based on the studies done, the new runway length will allow the airport to satisfy FAA design standards. And this project will not be seeking discretionary funding, as the FAA portion will be a mix of non-primary entitlement and state apportionment funds. As we can see here, it's just a little over $1 million for this extension project. The FAA portion at $872,000, commission providing $100,000 there, and the local share at $108,000. So again, the $100,000 going to the match for the construction grant, and then the $8,000 of that $108,000 going toward the design portion. That is the MPE funded design only. Yeah, I hate to harp on that, but I just don't want to confuse anybody, since that's something that we kind of added this time around and wanted to make sure that I addressed those. In the home stretch here, we just got a few more. And at Tahlequah Municipal Airport, this is another existing project for apron rehabilitation. I don't know if did we have that next slide for Tahlequah? There we go. So I just didn't want to leave anybody in the dust. Tahlequah Municipal Airport. This is an existing project to rehabilitate the apron and improve some safety areas. There's just a minor portion of the safety area that doesn't meet current standards, so obviously we want to make sure that we are addressing those as they come up. We simply updated our figures based on our meeting with the FAA to a total project cost of just over $1.1 million, $600,000 from the FAA, $500,000 from the commission, and just under $58,000 on the local share. And again, those are just numbers that we updated based on the funding available from the FAA based on our meeting that we had with them. At Thomas P. Stafford Airport in Weatherford, Oklahoma, this is the existing airport terminal building project. And again, we just updated the funding amounts. Total project cost of $1.3 million. The FAA portion there is the amount that primarily changed at $300,000 of non-primary entitlement funds. Commission providing $500,000 and local share at $500,000 as well for their match. For the West Woodward Airport, this is the last airport terminal building project that we'll talk about today. And this project is simply sliding back a year. This was in the spot that where we inserted Stillwater. And again, we inserted Stillwater simply because of when the FAA funding was going to be available. And so we just simply slid this one back in order to be able to accommodate that coordination with the FAA. So everything else is staying the same here for a total project cost of $1.5 million. The commission's $500,000, and then the local estimated at $1 million for that project. The final two here are at Wiley Post Airport here in Oklahoma City. Both are existing projects, and this one is to rehabilitate runway 1331, the pavement and the lighting. Again, we have adjusted these amounts based on our meeting with the FAA. It's not a discretionary project, but there's $1.4 million on the FAA side between the state apportionment and non-primary entitlement funding for a total project cost of just over $1.9 million. Commission providing $175,000 and the local share at just over $343,000 for this project. The last project, the second project here at Wiley Post that we will discuss is again an existing project that we simply updated the funding amounts based on our meeting with the FAA. And we're expecting supplemental discretionary funding for this project at the 90%, 5%, 5% split for a total project cost of just under $7 million. FAA portion of that's a little over $5.6 million. The commission providing just shy of $289,000, and a little over $1 million from the local level in order to ensure that all the things get done out there that are needed to accommodate the traffic that is occurring out there with that widening of the secondary runway. And with that, this concludes the changes and additions to the ACP for the fiscal year 2026 and fiscal year 2022 to 2026 timeframe. And that's the 37 projects that were new or changed. And with that, I'll stand for any questions of the project, but staff recommends approval and moving forward to the public comment period. And obviously, we'll come back to you in May for a full approval of the 2022 to 2026 ACP.
Okay, are there any comments? Now, again, this is for requesting that this move into the public comment phase. So this should be pretty easy. Any comments from others? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval for it going to the public comment phase.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second for approval. Would you call a roll, please, Andrea?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Can everyone hear me before I begin?
Yes.
Excellent. Commissioner Potter,
Yes.
Commissioner Conway, Commissioner Ortega,
Yes.
Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Chairman Putnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
Commissioner Conway, I did not hear you. I'm going to check with you again. Commissioner Conway.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion is passed. Move on to item 12, Airport Construction Grant Program. Grayson and Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to let Ben handle most of these. I will say on the agenda, a piece of item B was cut off. I apologize for that, not catching that, but I think you can see on the agenda that most of the information is there, and Ben can fill you out on exactly what the change order is going to be for item B. But I'll stand down and Ben, let you take it over.
Thank you. Thank you, Grayson. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. The change order for first project is at Carton Landing. This project included rehabilitating the runway, taxiway, and apron pavement, and also installing light, PAPI, and rotating beacon. The change order that we have is to put the gravel and sod and regrading around the PAPI and vault at the site. Can you go to next slide, please? This change order will not increase the fund that we were approved before. The total funds for this project was over 511,000. FAA match about 300,000, and the commission over 211,000. And next slide. This project is at Chattanooga, where we have rehabilitated the runway, taxiway, and apron pavement, and also installed LED lights at the runway. We had leftover fund on taxiway light section, and with this change order, they want to use that fund for additional crack sealing of apron. And next slide, please. This change order will not increase the fund that Commissioner approved before. The total fund for this project was about $500,000. Commission funded over 472,000, and the local match is shy of 25,000. With that, I stand for any question you may have.
Any questions? If not, thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. We'll move on to item 13, administrative rules for the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission. Michelle? You're muted, Michelle.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you may remember from the October meeting, we've been going through the administrative rule process for commission operations. These are going to be very minimal changes that came about as a result of the Governor's Executive Order 2020-3, which asked agencies to identify and clean up all unnecessary and outdated language. The proposed draft rules should have been provided for you as an attachment in your packet. Our recommended changes include revoking the scope of the chapter, which references Chapter 10, which was a chapter on the Airport Zoning Act that was previously revoked back in July of 1997. The definition of commission has been updated so that it's consistent with the definition in the other chapters. The election of officers timeline is being updated to reflect our current practice. Currently, the rules state election of officers should be occurring at the next meeting after the 1st of June of each calendar year. We're updating this to reflect how we currently conduct this practice, which is the last scheduled meeting of each calendar year, and is typically going to be our December meeting. Sometimes it'll be the end of November, just depending on our scheduled meeting dates. Finally, we've modified what is considered to be an eligible employee that the director has the authority to appoint or employ, and remove the word semi-skilled from the description. It is now going to read that they should be professional, clerical, and skilled help, labor, and other employee as may be deemed necessary for the proper and lawful discharge of the duties of the commission. The comment period was held from February 1 to March 3. No comments were received. I did have one person who reached out. His company does legal research, and he asked for a copy of the proposed rule changes. He told me he was just tasked with tracking our regulation changes for our agency. I provided those proposed rules to him and didn't hear anything further back. No one attended our public hearing, which was held virtually on March 4th. I'll stand for any questions, but staff does recommend approval for the adoption of the commission operation rules.
Sounds like pretty straightforward stuff. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Thank
you. Move to approve.
Second.
Andrew, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Potter,
Aye.
Andrew, we're losing you again.
Commissioner Conway,
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega,
Aye.
Commissioner Commissioner Ritz,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Chairman Putnam,
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
14, review of upcoming aviation aerospace events. Sandra.
Commissioners, we are excited that I think some aviation events are coming back, opening back up. And the ENID Barnstormers Breakfast is March 20th. And also the David J. Perry Airport is hosting their fly-in pancake breakfast. Masks are still required there. And on March 20th, the Oklahoma Pilots Association is flying to the Tulsa Air and Space Museum and Planetarium for their Stang Thang event, and it's their car show, and I think they have a small fly-in and a display of some warbirds. But we're looking forward to that. March TBIP is having Colonel Kevin Coyle, the Vice Commander, for the 552nd Air Control Wing. And so we encourage you to attend that. You can contact Janelle Stafford over at TBIP. And then the OAOA 2021 Annual Conference will be April 6th through the 8th. If you have interest in attending that as a commissioner, I'm sure that Director Ardes or Nick Young would be able to assist you. And that is my report, Commissioners.
Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate it very much. I hope things are slowly coming or rapidly coming back to normal. Okay. Concluding remarks regarding agenda items. Director Ardes, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will just say that as we are slowly coming back to a normal world, we're also going to be slowly coming back to hosting in-person events. We're looking at April 9th as a potential airport celebration for South Grand Lake Regional Airport up in Northeast Oklahoma. There are several other big projects that are going to be coming to a conclusion this spring, and would encourage each of you, if you have time in your schedules, to attend those meetings. We will keep you posted as to dates, times as they come available. If there's any time that either myself or Paula or Nick or Thomas or Ben are coming out to an airport in your district, we're going to start informing you of that. Obviously, prior to this, we wanted to keep the groups as small as possible and keep everybody's COVID concerns in mind. So, but as we start moving away and we start coming back to our normal life, would encourage you to attend those if your schedule and comfortability would allow such a move. So we'll keep you posted. Not trying to overwhelm you, just want to make you aware of what we're doing in your district. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate it. Yeah, I like to stay at the whelm level. Okay. This is kind of off the wall a little bit, but I'm just curious, how many commissioners have either had the virus and recovered or have had the shot series? I've recovered. Lindy's had hers. Jerry, have you had yours?
Yes, I got a vaccine.
Okay, Charles?
Yes, I've had both mine.
David?
Yep, both.
Blake?
Doing good, but no vaccine.
Okay, all right. It sounds like we're at the point where we can mingle and be out in public with very little danger to us or others. Then, just a footnote. Okay. Any new business for matters not known in the previous 24 hours? Okay. Looks like the next commission meeting will be on the 12th of May, Wednesday, at 10 o'clock. We don't have a place yet, Grayson, but I'm hoping it'll be back at the transportation building. Do we have any thought for that? Feel for that?
Certainly can look at that. Obviously, given that the governor signed the new bill and that the transportation cabinet was going all virtual for their February, March meetings, we wanted to keep in line with that, but we can certainly look at doing a blended option for May, in person or virtual as a choice. And then, but we'll just see what the transportation cabinet is doing and kind of move from there. We'll be nimble. We'll be able to be flexible.
All right, Grayson, that's it. Thank you very much. Any final comments or concerns from any of the commissioners or staff? Hearing none, I declare that as of 11:30 hours on this date, we are adjourned. See you next meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think Chris needs to read something real quick.
Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. The public audio connection has been monitored throughout this meeting, and it has been reported to me that the connection has been maintained for the entirety of the meeting. So just wanted to have that on the record.